All right. Well, we didn't have any clips because we thought that it would be a little ambitious to try to thread together a mashup of all these shows. But so I'm going to run through just how crazy this group is. Okay. So Peter, your character recently almost lost Denise to a car wreck. Definitely lost your job, and you found out your wife was pregnant on the same day, which seemed pretty dramatic until you think of Fiona and her on-again, off-again, on-again, off-again relationship while she's raising a house full of wild and larcenous siblings and caring for a father that everyone recently decided is actually better when he's falling down drunk than when he's sober. But that kind of pales when you consider the year Gemma's had with a price on your head for murder, and you had to send your father to a nursing home, help find your kidnapped grandbaby, and keep your son from... It is. I'm sorry. She had to send her father to a nursing home, find her kidnapped grandbaby. It's kind of crazy, and then keep her son from sleeping with his half sister. It was quite a year for you.
That's too hard for me.
Never mind all the shooting and stuff that inevitably occurs on Sons of Anarchy. And then there's Deb from Dexter, who has some of the worst romantic luck on TV. The boyfriends who are not crazy killers themselves are often killed by the crazy killers. And this year you lost your sister-in-law to the Trinity Killer, and were left... She lost her sister-in-law to the Trinity Killer. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do this very quickly. And you were left with a baby, or well, you're taking care of the baby once in a while. And you were
What's the baby's name?
What is the baby? Harrison, right?
Harrison.
I don't know our baby's name.
It's Hope. It's in the title.
I don't know what its real name is. It's twins.
Okay.
It always is.
Baby one.
3 sets of twins. Go ahead, where were we now?
We're at Dexter now. This isn't working. Is this working? I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Notes afterward.
Okay. I'll give you my notes. Here we go. And then you were 2 steps away from finding out that your brother was a serial killer. I mean, like literally 2 steps away. It was really hard to watch.
And then what happened?
Well, she didn't find out. Although,
Season 6.
Are you gonna find out in season 6?
What channel is this? What time?
Showtime.
This is Dexter on Showtime.
This is a lot easier where we were before we came in here. There was food even.
Jeez. Maybe we should all go back to the green room and start over.
You're going to do this with everyone else?
I am, and I'm almost done. Everybody will be happy to know. Okay. And then there's Russell, who discovered that that's him. This is HBO's True Love. HBO's True Love, who discovered that being the king of the vampires is not all it's cracked up to be. You lost your lover of what, like 800 years?
700 years.
700 years, ladies and gentlemen. To your nemesis Eric, was saved from death by sunlight by Sookie, only to be tied to a post.
I can't even hear this. I don't even believe it.
Well, that's the whole point of what I'm trying to do here, is to show you how crazy it all is. Okay, he's buried in cement right now, right? Isn't that where we left you, buried in cement? Okay, terrific.
Waiting.
All right, let's talk about the True Blood family, which is probably the most out there family.
Well, it's funny because...
Although you had a very permanent relationship. I mean, 700 years.
700 years. I mean, within the True Blood world, there are human families, there are wolf families, there are fairy families, and there are vampire families. No comments. And there are vampire families. And funnily enough, if you think about Sookie Stackhouse and her brother Jason, they're the only, sibling, besides Tara and Lafayette, but the sibling bond. The sibling bond is very, very strong. And but for my case, Russell Edgington was about 2,900 years old, and he had found his lover in 1300, and so they were together 700 years. And I love the fact that the most intense relationship was between 2 vampires. I thought it was fantastic, the only sort of stable relationship, but that ended, like they all do.
Luckily.
Well, and the thing about vampires, which is weird, is that we make our family.
Right, exactly. I mean, you have all
Yeah,
these
when
children
yeah.
that kind of...
Well, no, if you make somebody into a vampire, they're your family.
Bigger than you eat them.
No, you don't eat them. If you make them, you don't eat them. If you eat them, they're not vampires. They're just,
exactly, they're just meals.
So So if you get made, then you were chosen.
Exactly. Exactly.
So.
But it's actually a fascinating theme because the whole sub rosa idea in True Blood.
Under the red?
Under the radar.
Oh, the radar, rosa.
Yeah, sub rosa. And that's just a Latin
Isn't
term.
that made up before they had radar?
Yes, but I'm an ancient character, so I speak in ancient terms usually. Yes.
With that hat?
With this hat and with this balding head.
I like bald men better than men with a lot of hair.
But now I forgot what I was going to say.
Peter, you're out of the mix.
All right, moving on.
What shade you are blushing?
Who?
Bald guy.
You made the old vampire blush. It's a sad thing.
This is your.
You know what? We're going to go to Peter now. And when will she find out? Do you think she's going to find out?
I'm ready to find out. I feel like she can't be this good at her job and not know. I am ready to find out for the story's sake, but terrified to play it. I can't. I'm glad it's not up to me what it's going to look like. I'm terrified of the day I have to shoot it.
I think it touches on an interesting point, which is that the characters are independent of us, the creators, many times, and there's an authenticity to the character and a believability factor that you cannot violate. And you come up against the thing where you feel like you need to keep the audience engaged with this character. You have to be true to the character while the writers are trying to come up with these great twists and turns. And it's weird that the character I play, Russell, is somebody who I deeply love. I think he's a fantastic character. And
Is he bald?
he's not. He has a wig, which is great. But the thing about a character like that is that he's buried and we're waiting for him to come back to life, kind of, so to speak. And while we're waiting, I'm kind of waiting in this weird limbo where he's still alive in my head and I'm still creating him, but I'm anxious to get back on the horse because it's just like he's there living.
I think that's what's interesting about doing episodic television, because you have weeks to tell, you're telling the story. It's not like doing a film where you're gonna in an hour and a half kind of get to where you're supposed to be. So you kind of live in that extended period of like, where are we now and what happens here. I think it's really interesting because you become really dimensional. I mean, super dimensional, because they have to. Yeah. They have to keep adding in.
And don't we sort of parent our characters and the audience a little bit? Not parent, but nurture it. Like, it's not, your audience isn't ready for you to know. Right. So you have to make sure that you're careful with that you protect that,
And you're on the journey with your character as an actor, living it at the same time as you're wondering what are the ramifications that the audience is going to perceive if you playing it a certain way, or if that happening at a certain point in the story because that services the story, vis-a-vis if you think that would organically happen for your character at that time. But regardless, you have to service it and play it and find a way to make that work.
This may be going off in a strange place.
I don't think that's possible.
I have been sometimes, like, when when you're experiencing fatigue, or the hours are getting to you or something, and I sometimes feel like free will is not necessarily a blessing. Sometimes it feels like a curse. Like, I wish there was someone who were sort of navigating my life a little bit. So there's a part of me sometimes that really is able to relax in the structure of episodic TV.
I feel exactly the same way. Someone's designating your emotions that day, and you can rein them in a certain way and follow that specific path, and then you know what path you're on for that day. And then you go home and you're like, I have no idea who I am. I have no idea what I'm supposed to feel. I've just spent 14 hours saying what somebody else feels, and I have no idea who I am. Oh, well, at least I guess I serviced it.
I mean, it's funny you say that, because I think what's fascinating about any of the characters we play is that the writers, in a strange way, say, what if the character did this? What if the character learned this lesson? What if the character was reduced to this? What would happen if we took away this character's job, life, brother, love? What would they do? And in a strange way, we sit back and we put these people through their tests, in a way, to show the audience, this is what you may have to confront at some point. I mean, for my character, he loses his lover of 700 years, and he becomes...
That's really sad.
It's long! It was a sad scene. Episode 8. And the thing is that the character becomes uncivilized, he becomes unhinged, And I had created a long backstory of where the guy came from, and I didn't realize that would come in handy, and it dovetailed perfectly into the storyline. So sometimes we unwittingly create things that are intuitively correct, which I always find kind of freaky.
Well, and I think the writer works off the actor. After a certain point, you know, it's just sort of this symbiotic relationship, and you don't know what comes first, really. Even though, have you ever had the experience where you go to the writer and you say, well, my character wouldn't say that, and they just look at you like, yes, yes they would. Thank you very much. And they'll say, you know, they don't mean it mean, but the truth is, they created it. You know, we're the vehicle. And
well, I didn't want my character to swear ever. He had never said the F word. Thank you.
Fuck.
We should go on the road. I just didn't want him to swear. I thought it weakened him to swear, and so I started making my case for it. And I looked ahead like 3 other scripts, and they all had him swearing, and so I gave up. Yeah. So, what the fuck.